This is Silent Hill. It's known for being foggy, dark, abandoned, a town defined by monsters and decay. But it wasn't always that way. Silent Hill was often described as a once popular lakeside resort, a place people actually chose to visit. So, what would Silent Hill be like on a warm summer weekend? No fog, snow, or monsters. Just a mountain backdrop, warm air, the muffled engines of distant boats gliding across the lake. Would the town live up to its brochure reputation? Is Silent Hill actually a well-designed resort town? Or beneath the atmosphere, is it just a maze of streets that were never meant to make sense? Warning: what follows is an unnecessarily detailed breakdown of the street layout and zoning logic of a fictional town from PS1 and PS2 games. I spent far too long looking at these maps. Now it's your turn. Silent Hill's grown over the years. Expanded, reimagined, redrawn. So for this experiment, I want to focus on Silent Hill in its clearest form. The town Team Silent, the original developers, actually built. That means the various districts of Silent Hill 1, South Vale from Silent Hill 2, and the overlapping areas revisited in Silent Hill 3. Silent Hill 4 gets left out since the spaces we visit there are reconstructions from Walter's memory. They're clearly not meant to be real functioning spaces. So we're looking at the town as it was physically designed. With that said, let's head on over and visit Silent Hill. Before looking at individual streets, it helps to step back. Silent Hill isn't arranged randomly. The layout shows intention. If it developed as a resort town, something had to justify that identity, and the answer's right there on the full map. Toluca Lake sits at the center of everything. The town curves around it. Major roads run alongside it. Hotels and leisure spaces cluster near the shoreline. Residential areas sit further back. Sanford Street and Nathan Avenue trace the lake's edge. Anyone driving through town would be moving parallel to the water. The lake isn't hidden behind buildings or industrial zones. It dominates the whole orientation. This is typical of real resort towns. You prioritize the scenic assets. You position streets to maximize exposure. The landscape becomes the selling point. You see this in the recurring sightseeing brochure from Silent Hill 2. You find it in room 104 of Woodside Apartments, and again in Heaven's Night in Silent Hill 3. The brochure sells it like this: gorgeous mountain landscape, and a lake which shows different sides of its beauty with the passing of the day, from sunrise to late afternoons to sunset. The clearest example of this shows up right at the beginning of Silent Hill 2. The first open space you get to is an observation deck overlooking Toluca Lake. An observation deck is deliberate. It's built to frame a view. It's designed to make you pause and look outward. Its placement shows confidence in what it's presenting. From that spot, the town looks composed. The lake is still. The tree line is dense. Mountains rise in the distance, presumably. There's no visible damage or neglect. The area around the lake feels maintained, if quiet. This moment sets a baseline. Before any psychological distortion, before fog obscures the streets, the town presents itself as a scenic destination. The map backs this up. Lakeview Hotel sits prominently along the shoreline. Lakeside Amusement Park has lake right there in its name. Rosewater Park opens towards the water, with jetties and boat access. Even the infrastructure reinforces this. Multiple drawbridges interrupt road travel to let boats pass. When they're raised, cars and pedestrians have to wait. Water traffic gets priority. That hierarchy tells you boating and lake activity are important enough to shape how roads work. In real towns, this usually means leisure boating, tours, and recreational fishing, all standard resort stuff. And we know fishing's popular in Silent Hill because James mentions it. In Silent Hill 2, James sees some fishing lures in the bar Venus Tears inside Lakeview Hotel and says, "A display of lures. It looks like fishing on the lake is a popular activity among the tourists. I'm no good at it, so I never tried it when I was here." Even beyond the explicit references, the naming conventions lead hard into natural imagery. Brookhaven Hospital, Blue Creek Apartments, Woodside Apartments, Ridgeview Medical, The language is all water, trees, elevation. The town brands itself through landscape. But here's the thing, interaction with the lake stays controlled. Access points are defined. Movement is channeled. You look at it from platforms. You walk beside it along designated paths. You cross it via bridges. You engage with it at specific spots rather than across an open shoreline. That kind of management is standard in resort towns. Unrestricted lake access can damage the environment, fragment waterfront property, or mess up boating routes. Controlled entry keeps things looking nice while concentrating activity in maintained areas. Silent Hill follows that playbook. Rosewater Park offers structured access. Jetties on both sides of the lake suggest regulated boating. A historical society sits near a boat launch. Drawbridges regulate water traffic and reinforce the idea that boating is organized rather than chaotic. Even in Silent Hill 2, when you cross the lake, perspective is narrow and framed. The crossing feels guided, so it's less about keeping distance and more about curation. On paper, the town makes a convincing case for itself as a lakeside resort. It's got the view, it's got the access points, it's got the transport logic, and it's got the branding. And if you look at it without fog, monsters, or abandonment, the basic design holds up. Which means the real question isn't whether Silent Hill could work as a resort, it clearly could. The question is whether the rest of the town supports that promise. And that's where things get interesting. Let's step away from the lake and head into Old Silent Hill. If Silent Hill's going to work as a convincing resort town, it first needs to work as a town. Old Silent Hill sits slightly removed from the lake-facing districts. In real resort towns, this separation's pretty common. Waterfront zones present the public face, while residential neighborhoods sit further inland, quieter, more self-contained. Old Silent Hill fits that pattern. It's the first district you explore in Silent Hill. Structurally, it feels domestic. Despite the roads being comically wide, buildings are closely spaced, homes sit tight together, creating density without massive scale. The sightseeing brochure promises row after row of quaint old houses, and it delivers. The housing blocks are consistent. There's no ornamental exaggeration. The district looks like a modest and small American town, rather than some constructed movie set. Midwich Elementary School sits within walking distance of surrounding homes. That placement lines up with typical residential zoning. Schools are usually central to neighborhoods, rather than stuck out on commercial strips. But walk around it in game and you might notice something. There's no playground visible. No basketball court. No swing set. The kids go to school, but where do they play? Surely not here in this courtyard. Maybe it's just game limitations. Or maybe not. The Balkan Church is embedded right into the district along Block and Buckman. The architecture looks old. The surrounding buildings look more modern and practical. Whether that's historically accurate or just smart design, it feels like a structure that was here first, which helps sell the idea that Silent Hill grew organically, rather than just being built all at once as a resort destination. In many American towns, churches are early anchors. As towns expand, commercial stuff builds around them. The church stays integrated but slightly distinct. A hint at its history right there in plain sight. The shop names in Old Silent Hill are mostly literal and functional. Food and liquor, pharmacy, fish and fries, bookstore. These names just describe what they sell. No fancy branding. Even when there's personality, Roger's Pastry Shop, Virginia's Bridal, it feels small town rather than theatrical. The density of cafes and small eateries support daily life. There's practical variety. Drugstores, auto parts, markets, repair shops. Rather than being strictly zoned, it's spread out. Small businesses are woven into residential blocks. This mirrors older American towns where commercial activities embedded into neighborhood life. Moving into central Silent Hill, the tone shifts more towards a town center. The district has larger institutions like Al Camilla Hospital, the post office, police station, a theater, and even a multi-level shopping center. Even the shop names start carrying more identity. Romantic Journey, The Mirage, Moondance Disco, Wild and Cool. These aren't over-the-top tourist brands, but they're shifting from describing what they sell to presenting an experience. This feels consistent with how real towns evolve. Residential districts stick with literal naming, Commercial cores adopt a more stylized branding as they compete for attention and foot traffic. Central Silent Hill feels like a modest downtown. It brings in variety, lifestyle retail and entertainment, while staying grounded enough to feel believable. The shopping mall reinforces the idea that this is an organized commercial hub, rather than just a random collection of storefronts. Roads are still very wide here, but pavements connect cleanly. Intersections are regular. You've got civic details like bins, newspaper stands, public payphones, even drainage systems. Despite benches being non-existent except a small handful of instances, the basic infrastructure's there. Institutions are accessible within reasonable distances. Nothing here feels random. Distances between homes, schools, shops, and medical facilities look walkable. Walk these streets and you'd probably feel comfortable, familiar even. And that's the trick. Silent Hill feels knowable right up until it doesn't. Old Silent Hill and Central Silent Hill don't feel like mistakes. The school sits where it should. The church feels rooted. Shops serve real needs. The commercial centre grows gradually rather than just appearing. Strip away the fog and monsters, and what's left is a town that holds together. So if the foundation's solid, what about the tourism side? The lake-facing districts that bring visitors to this quiet little lakeside resort town. If Old Silent Hill and Central Silent Hill are the town's foundations, South Vale feels like the expansion. The road network's similar, but the scaling's slightly different. Nothing looks disordered, but the density loosens, and the architectural style shifts. Where Old Silent Hill feels compact and layered with history, South Vale feels newer and more outward-facing. The change isn't huge, but it's there. Along the outer edges of South Vale, you've got a series of more modern-looking homes. Their construction contrasts with the quaint old houses described in the brochure and visible north of Toluca Lake. These homes look less compressed. Their layout suggests recent development rather than historical settlement. Several apartment complexes, like Woodside Apartments, sit close to major entertainment venues and commercial corridors. They're positioned within easy walking distance of nightlife and leisure, rather than separated from them. This is different from Old Silent Hill, where residential density is embedded within domestic grids and commercial services weave through that fabric. In South Vale, living space and leisure infrastructure exist side by side. There's even a dry cleaners near the apartment complexes, the kind of service that suggests people stay long term, not just for a weekend. South Vale's housing feels designed to accommodate flexibility, residents, longer-term renters, extended stays. It's neither purely transient nor historically rooted. Neely Street is basically the main shopping street for this part of town. Unlike the scattered small businesses of Old Silent Hill, Neely Street bundles services into a recognizable strip. Music stores, baby clothing, restaurants, bars, a computer shop. The variety is significant. It's more than just a narrow tourist boardwalk. It supports both everyday needs and discretionary spending. As you move away from the main strip, the offerings get more functional. Welding services, opticians, shoe stores, auto repairs, even a flower shop. The gradient mirrors real town expansion. A central strip concentrates mixed-use activity, while more specialized services settle along the edges. Either accidentally or not, South Vale feels structured with this logic in mind. South Vale also houses several civic institutions, a post office, a fire station, a bank. These are infrastructure necessities, not attractions. Their placement suggests South Vale as a major operational zone for the town's southern half, reinforcing the idea that this is real expansion rather than just decoration. Despite all this functionality, certain buildings take up disproportionate visual space. Pete's Bowl-O-Rama sits along a major road with clear frontage. It presents itself as a destination rather than background service. The Lakeside Amusement Park on the opposite side of the lake eats up a huge footprint relative to the nearby residential density. Its scale implies they're expecting way more people than just the permanent population. Heaven's Night sits tucked away from daytime foot traffic, but it's still embedded in the district's commercial layout. Its proximity to Brookhaven Hospital creates an unusual pairing: nightlife and medical care as neighbours. Actually, unusual undersells it. Heaven's Night next to Brookhaven Hospital. A strip club beside a medical facility. In most towns, that's a zoning violation. Here, it's just adjacent. Like the town doesn't care what sits next to what, as long as both serve their function. The separation between home life and entertainment shrinks here. It feels like a district built to host people, not to raise a family. Compared to Old Silent Hill and Central Silent Hill, South Vale feels like growth. The architectural style is more modern, commercial activities more concentrated, civic services get redistributed. Housing types diversify. The district feels scalable, designed to handle increased movement, higher density of commerce, and a broader mix of people. This actually suggests the town evolved. It doesn't break the illusion that Silent Hill works as a real place. But the balance shifts. In Old Silent Hill, home life feels primary and commerce feels secondary. In South Vale, leisure and flow occupy the foreground, while housing adapts around them. The district works and it supports residents, visitors, and fills practical gaps. But its most visible structures tie to leisure, entertainment, and spending money. It's a subtle imbalance to remember for later. Taken together, the northern and southern districts suggest two phases of development. Old Silent Hill feels foundational and inward-facing. South Vale feels expanded and outward-facing. Silent Hill integrates housing, commerce, and civic stuff competently, but as it grows, its priorities become clear. Silent Hill's layout is readable. The grid connects logically. Routes push you towards parks, hotels, institutions, and commercial strips. You don't get trapped in endless residential dead ends. Even when districts feel distinct, the corridors between them are clear. That clarity supports tourism. Visitors need to orient quickly. They need to find the lake, find the hotels, find the main streets, and move between them without friction. The road network supports that too. Streets are wide across all of Silent Hill, and they stay wide even as they stray away from the main strips. Intersections are large. The whole place feels built to absorb car flow. Then you look for public transport, and it simply doesn't appear in the town's visible design. It's practically non-existent. No bus stops, no shelters, no bus lanes, no train station, no rail hub, no cycle lanes. That absence creates a very specific conclusion. Silent Hill expects you to arrive by car. You drive in, you park, you disperse into the town's facilities and attractions. Then you leave the same way. The town reads like a place designed to be navigated through private vehicles, especially during peak tourist periods, where the roads would actually earn their width. This also affects how the town feels socially. Within the playable map, neutral civic ground separated from commerce or scenic framing is surprisingly rare. Silent Hill does have something of a plaza in the resort area of Silent Hill 1, but looking at what surrounds it, a motel, a harbour, 2 bars, a burger restaurant, that combination tells you exactly who this space is designed for: visitors. It sits right beside the waterfront where tourists would arrive, eat, drink, and move between attractions. In other words, Silent Hill's plaza isn't anchoring everyday town life, it's anchoring the tourist experience. Resort towns often build spaces like this deliberately. Lake Geneva in Wisconsin has Flatiron Park along the waterfront. Mackinac Island has Marquette Park overlooking the harbour. These places frame the scenery, but they also give visitors somewhere to pause between activities. Silent Hill's version is much smaller and more tightly tied to surrounding businesses. It still nudges you towards consumption and movement rather than simply lingering. So even when Silent Hill creates a gathering space, it reinforces the same pattern we've been seeing across the map. The town organizes itself around visitors first. Try to picture yourself living here, not just visiting, but living. Where would you spend a Saturday afternoon when you're not shopping or eating? For locals, there's very few places to just exist. Resort towns run on different logic than normal towns. Their infrastructure rarely sizes itself to just a permanent population. Instead, it scales for fluctuation. In the summer, this design creates energy, but in the winter, it creates emptiness. The clearest example is Lakeside Amusement Park. Its footprint occupies a substantial piece of the shoreline. When you compare its size to nearby housing density, the imbalance becomes noticeable. The surrounding apartments and homes are moderate in scale. They suggest steady residential presence, but not one large enough to sustain a park of that size on a daily basis. That scale implies expectation. Amusement parks are built around concentrated demand. They rely on seasonal peaks, holiday traffic, and sustained weekend surges to justify their maintenance costs and prime shoreline real estate. The placement of Lakeside Amusement Park against Toluca Lake, the town's primary scenic asset, tells you Silent Hill committed its best frontage to an attraction designed to perform during its busiest periods. Picture a peak summer scenario. South Vale would probably feel cohesive. Neely Street would have a flow of foot traffic and noise. Restaurants would turn tables. Pete's Bowlerama would draw crowds for a fun bowling experience. Rosewater Park would host slow walkers and boaters. Apartment balconies might show signs of people actually being there. Under those conditions, the town is in its prime. The destinations are in their scale. The grid feels efficient. Infrastructure looks proportionate. When the number of visitors drop in the off-season and colder months, the infrastructure stays the same. Hotels keep their size. Amusement parks hold their footprint. Stores keep lining the streets. Wide roads stay wide. The town's bones stay fixed. Only the bodies moving through them change. Because Silent Hill gives its best real estate to hotels and entertainment, the whole layout assumes people will come in waves. When those waves are absent, the proportions shift. Walks that once felt lively stretch out. Storefronts that once felt varied start to feel numerous. Parks that once framed the lake as spectacle become big and quiet. Nothing breaks or fails structurally, because Silent Hill keeps working while revealing the scale it was built at. It's like seeing the stage after everyone's left the theatre. The props are still there, the lighting still works, but the space feels wrong without the performance. It feels empty, in more ways than one. Old Silent Hill suggested ongoing home life through tight housing and embedded commerce. South Vale suggested expansion and adaptation through responsive movement and leisure. Together, they balance two identities, resident life and visitor life. But as we've seen, the scenic asset dominates the branding. Entertainment takes visual priority. The most visible and spacious buildings expect outsiders. This tension becomes obvious when movement stops. Imagine Silent Hill on a warm summer weekend, put together and active, living up to its brochure. Now imagine late autumn, when visitors leave and businesses cut hours. The same clarity takes on a different quality. Silent Hill would feel paused, quiet and liminal. This creates something in between, not supernatural weirdness or dystopian collapse, but the weird economics and spatial logic of seasonal towns. Silent Hill fits comfortably in this pattern, structurally typical of seasonal towns. This might explain why, when stripped of visible life, it has this weird eeriness to it, long before monsters appear or air raid sirens blare in the distance. So, would Silent Hill function as a resort town? Yes, in the ways that matter most. It has a clear scenic center. It organizes the town around that center. It frames the lake as a product. It supports tourism with parks, hotels, entertainment, and a readable, vehicle-friendly grid. It contains residential and civic infrastructure that makes it feel like a place people could actually live, not just visit. The town's weaknesses shape it though. Silent Hill assumes the car. Public transport doesn't meaningfully appear in the design. Neutral public gathering space feels limited compared to how many destinations exist. Seating is sparse. The town keeps nudging you towards movement, towards attractions, towards places with purpose. But when we bring its seasonal foundations forward and test them, we get something else. Silent Hill looks built for its best weekend. When that weekend isn't happening, the town stays ready anyway. That readiness becomes the strangest part, a place that feels prepared for people who aren't there yet. And once you notice that, the fog starts to feel like a layer on top of something the design was already capable of. Silent Hill doesn't need monsters to feel wrong. It just needs to be quiet.